Hey, hey, hey. It's Filter Free Friday, y'all. Listen, I'm so glad y'all here. I was thinking about Sister Oma Dell Price this morning. She is my grandmother on my dad's side. And when she was living, she didn't pass away until I was in college. I was just the most judgy little person. I had some pretty clear ideas about what I thought was right and what I thought was wrong, and who God was displeased with, and who God was going to give a key to heaven to. Okay, that's what I believed. And this week, I have been just really struck by this idea that some things are still black and white, but then there are other things that I just cannot let go of, the idea that we have to hold two thoughts in our minds at once. I was reading a post from someone who said they would not do business with someone who cheats on their spouse. And in general, I understand exactly why someone would say that. That if someone cheats on the person who they've made the greatest promise to, that how is it possible that they could be or have any fidelity to you? And I heard also at the same time my grandmother, Sister Oma Dell Price, going, "Keep living, baby," because if folks who were married for lengthy periods of time were honest, we would hear that many people have cheated on their spouses and yet happen to be amazing business partners and fathers and actually spouses. I cannot believe that I am saying that. And it has been my experience, and I don't know how to say it differently than that. I also have been struck by the fact that I cannot watch any, easily watch any episodes of The Cosby Show. And I honor that he has been to court and found criminally liable for some horrendous things to people, to women, without their consent. That is what the court has found. And how do you hold that during the late 80s, early 90s, The Cosby Show was a beautiful depiction of families, um, not aspirational, real lived experiences of Black people that had not been covered on television before. How do you hold both of those things together? And so when Malcolm Jamal Warner was taken away by a riptide, I think that's what happened. Um, I found myself wanting to watch some of those shows. And it gave me a little bit of empathy, not agreement, but empathy with people who struggle with things like removing statues of like old Confederate generals. And here's what I think is the difference. When we look at the totality of someone's life, it is very tempting for us to say good character, bad character. But I believe that most people are just people who have character flaws, that you can create amazing art and have a character flaw, that you can um, create beautiful music, you can be an amazing business partner, you can be an exceptional preacher and have massive human challenges. Like, what does it look like when somebody's a pastor of a church but they have a drug addiction? Are they not an amazing pastor of a church? But when you evaluate, what I was looking for was someone commented on my LinkedIn post this morning when I was asking the question about who gets to decide, who gets to decide who is a good character or a bad character. How do we know? How do we know? And this woman, her name is Andrea, and she focuses on empathy in tech. And she said something that I found insightful. And she says, my job is to look at the actions of others and integrate what I find inspiring and reject what I find intolerable. And I wish that we could do that for people. But I hold in my heart that the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. is one of the most storied figures historically I've read. When I read his sermons, when I watch his sermons, when I read his books, when I read books about him, I see a man who was deeply troubled and felt spiritually led to improve the world as we know it. The FBI files on his life were released this week. We are likely going to learn some things about him, specifically his fidelity to his wife, that we are not going to appreciate. There probably, based on what I've noticed about us, will be calls to remove his statues and streets named after him. That's what I'm just preparing for the worst here. But his wife, Coretta Scott King, whatever he did, I'm sure she knew. And she was pleased with her husband. So who am I? And I think that what Andrea said about watching the actions of others and integrating what we find inspiring and rejecting what we find intolerable is the way. How do we appreciate the art and reject the actions of the artist if they are not inspiring or if they are intolerable? What if we can't judge the whole as good or evil? Because if, my loves, you can't do business with someone who cheats on their spouse, I appreciate that level you have set. But you, my love, wouldn't organize with King. And I think that's something for us to sit with and evaluate and appreciate and determine if that's the hill we really want to die on. Because take it from 12-year-old me, some of that stuff that you judging, you're going to live a life just long enough to have to account for it. It's Filter Free Friday, y'all. We got plenty of work to do.